I think. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Is this on closer? Okay. Is that better? Good evening, everyone. Maybe a little louder. Okay.
We'll say something.
First off, we wanted to just start by saying thank you to the League of Women Voters for inviting us to present this evening. We're excited to be here. We're thrilled to see some participation here in the audience, and of course, those who are watching online. We're excited to share with you all that is Parks and Recreation this evening, but ultimately, we just appreciate your support for being here and appreciate your support for Parks and Recreation. We'll go ahead and get started with some introductions. Connie introduced us already, but again, my name is Meredith Pettit, and I am the Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Corvallis Parks and Recreation Department. I have been with the department for about 4.5 years now, and I came to Corvallis, Oregon from the Los Angeles area, where I was previously a Director of Recreation and Parks for the City of El Segundo down in LA County. And prior to that, worked for the community of the city of Agora Hills. So I've been in Parks and Recreation Management for over 20 years now. And yeah, this time here in Corvallis has been exciting, and we have a lot of exciting projects.
Good evening, everybody. My name is James Malign. I'm the Assistant Director for Corvallis Parks and Recreation. And I've been with the City of Corvallis for going on 18 years. And I've been in the Parks and Recreation industry for nearly 30 years. And I know, painful, huh, Cynthia? And thoroughly enjoy it. And I'm also originally from Los Angeles, but I've been here now many more years than I ever was in Los Angeles. So I like to say I'm full Oregonian now. All right, Jude.
Hey, I am Jude Geist, the Parks Division Manager, and I've been working for Corvallis Parks and Recreation for 12 years. Prior to that, I worked for City of Salem, so I've been in Parks and Recreation for 24 years. And we have an amazing park system with wonderful developed parks and natural areas that we should all be proud of. So thank you.
Okay, well, when Connie had approached me about participating in this series and then proposed the title, Parks and Recreation, What Do We Do and How Do We Pay for It? I thought, wow, that's, how many hours do we have, really? But we have a vast system here in Corvallis that we're really proud of, and I know that we get a lot of appreciation from our communities for. But the point is that what we do is not necessarily complicated, but it can be complex. And so our short time this evening, we're going to attempt to just sort of scratch the surface of all of those offerings that the department provides through our recreation programs, through our parks and natural area systems, and also our long-term and strategic planning efforts. And again, like Connie had mentioned, we're happy to take questions as we go here. So don't feel the need to keep your burning questions to you. We have the opportunity to engage with you this evening. If there's something that we talk about and you want to make a comment or suggestion or ask a question, feel free to do that. But our goal this evening is really to illustrate that breadth and scope of the department. We want to share with you some fun facts about the city park system. We'll talk about the types and variety of programs that we offer and the many ways in which we're able to deliver those to the community. And then we'll also talk more about the money. We'll talk about how those programs and services translate to the resources that are allocated to the department to be able to do what we do and accomplish our mission. Our mission, as you see it here on the screen, is to preserve and create a community heritage by providing places and programs designed to enhance the quality of life. So it really runs the gamut. A lot of what we do, we consider just community service based. So parks, recreation, it's all services provided for the betterment of the community.
Okay, in the spirit of recreation, parks and recreation, we have a little game for you. So this game is called Over Under, and all of you get a chance to participate. So the game's going to go like this. I'm going to give you a statistic and you're going to tell me, am I over or under what the reality is? So as an example, I'm going to say the three of us take care of all of Parks and Recreation, 3 employees. Am I over or under? Under. Very good. You're going to learn more about how many employees we have. All right, so here we go. Parks and Recreation has 40 parks. Are we over or under?
Right on. Under.
Okay, let's see. 48 parks. Parks and Recreation has 1,500 acres. Over or under?
Under.
Under. Wow. Okay, you guys are getting better. 1,636, which 1,000 acres of that is in natural areas. All right. Parks and Recreation has 30 playgrounds. Over or under?
Oh, dear.
Over.
Say over?
Over. Under for everything.
No, that's not going to work. Participation, 28 playgrounds. All right. Who's winning so far? Right there. All right. So with 40 park acres, with 48 parks, 1,636 park acres and 28 playgrounds, how many trash cans do you think services all of those? How many trash cans do you guys think?
2,000. No.
320.
Who said 200?
All right.
Okay, let's see. Bonus right
Over.
there. Well done. Well done. All right. Parks and Recreation owns and or operates 3 recreation centers. Over or under?
Under.
Cynthia. Yep. We have 4 recreation center. Who can name them?
C3.
C3?
Tennyson.
Community center. Think rec center. Full recreation center. So Corvallis Community Center, Osborne Aquatic Center,
Shut down.
Majestic.
Theater,
Oh.
and
Yard Center.
the Art Center. All right. All right. Parks and Recreation, as part of our recreation division at the Majestic Theater that you just spoke about, we have 500 theater seats in Majestic Theater. Over or under?
Under.
Under? Over? Okay. Our Intimate Theater has actually 288 seats. All right. Last 2, get them right. So Parks and Recreation offers a scholarship program for all income eligible households, low income households throughout Benton County. Of those households, how many of them do we offer scholarships to? To individual people do we offer scholarships to? I say we offer 1,000 scholarships a year. Over or under?
I think that's over.
Over? Under? All right, let's see. 2,691 last year, we individuals we offered scholarships to. Last one, we have 150,000 enrollments. These are registrations in our programs and services, swimming lessons, basketball camps, so on and so forth. 150,000, over or under?
Under. 150.
150,000 enrollments.
Under.
Under, okay. Nice job. You guys got better and better after that. Thank you. Yep. So 163,478 enrollments last year. All right. Thank you for playing.
Okay, so how do we decide what programs, what services to offer, where to allocate our resources? We get a lot of feedback and a lot of information coming at us from the community, from our elected officials, and from the community over time. So it's really important that we have that guidance from our community on what you want to see and where you would like us to invest the resources that we are supported by. So starting with the Corvallis 2040 mission, that is sort of an overarching kind of guidepost for the community of Corvallis, not just the city organization, but the community. And there was a big effort, an engagement effort to envision what do people want this community to look like, feel like in 2040. And so that's kind of a guidepost for all of the community and all of the city of Corvallis. Taking that next step further, the city of Corvallis has a strategic plan. This is developed and adopted by our city council. And this sets our overarching policy goals and visions for the city as an organization. So we want to make sure that the decisions that we're making on a daily basis are supporting the overall policy goals of the city council through their strategic plan. Taking it a next step further, the department has a Parks and Recreation master plan, and this is a master plan that is compiled. It's probably about 300 pages. It's very comprehensive. It talks about all of the facilities, all of the parks, the programs that we offer, and engages the community in such a way where we're looking 10, 15 years out and strategizing where do we want to be as a park system and in our recreation program offerings. And so that is also what guides our decisions. It's a roadmap for us. It also identifies kind of where we might be deficient in certain areas. So we hear from the community what's important, and then we evaluate the level of service that we're providing in that area. And that helps us determine we need to do better in this area, or we have enough park space in this area, but not this area. And that helps guide our decisions. More programmatically, we also develop a rolling 5-year capital improvement program plan. And so that's where we're looking at all of those guiding documents. We look at our master plan, we look at what resources we have available, and we plan for the next 5 years, which capital improvement and infrastructure improvements we're going to be able to make within the park system. So that might be replacing a playground that's 30 years old. It might be building a whole new sports complex, right? If we're lucky someday. So that's where we're planning the next 5 years, those types of big capital improvement projects. Taking it a next level down, a lot of our parks have very specific master plans where we'll look at one park individually and talk about what does the community, mostly kind of the neighborhood, more closer in proximity, or really focusing on a certain stakeholder group, what types of amenities they want to see in a certain park. So we'll master plan a specific area or a specific park. From a management perspective, we also do something similar a lot of times with some of our parks in terms of how we want to manage or maintain park areas. Then we also layer in there other City of Corvallis plans that guide us as well, our climate action plans, sustainability plans, and goals as a city. And of course, we're ultimately guided by the budget that's adopted by the city council and what monies we have to be able to allocate in different ways. So at a glance, our department is 43 full-time staff positions, and that's in 3 different divisions: our administration division, parks division, and recreation services division. We'll talk more in detail about those divisions. But really, we are operating on over 250 part-time staff positions as well. So think about lifeguards, camp counselors, front desk staff, theater technicians, house attendants at the theater. So most of the time when you're coming in contact with somebody out in a program area or in the front desk of a facility, that is our what we call casual or part-time staff workforce that do various jobs for us and interact with the public on a daily basis. So it really kind of, our workforce runs the gamut. It could be, somebody's first job, they're still in high school, and we have part-time employees, swim instructors, lifeguards who have been with us for, decades, really, and it's just runs the gamut. So we see a lot of fun interaction with our staff in different areas. Overall, we're operating on a $13.5 million budget for Parks and Recreation, and we receive about $6 million in revenue that helps subsidize those costs. So we call it cost recovery, and also we have another slide a little bit later to talk about that. But ultimately, we're striving for about 45 to 50% recouping revenues through registration fees, rental fees, grants, donations to support our operations. So that's what we call cost recovery, recovering 50% of the costs of our operating budget. We wouldn't be able to do what we do or accomplish our mission without working with organizations in the community. So we collaborate a lot with different organizations, Benton County, Lynn Benton Community College, OSU, the school district, Greenbelt Land Trust, the Environmental Center, and on and on and on and on. So many of these organizations operate out of our facilities, offer learning or education programs through our facilities. We partner, directly out in the field on restoration efforts. So just a lot of community partnership, and we're always open to talking to other organizations that might have an interest in partnering with us. We're proud to offer some highlights here. We're Tree City USA, 23 years of recognition and running, and that's because of our wonderful urban forestry program. Our Turkey Trot program is kind of our signature event and continues to break records every year and continues to grow. This year we had over 1,700 participants in the 1K, 5K, and 10K runs on Thanksgiving morning. And then also, as James mentioned, we're really proud to be able to offer scholarships to those in our community who need financial assistance to be able to participate in our program. So we offer about $60,000 to $70,000 on average in scholarship dollars to 939 eligible households last year for our scholarship program.
So you can imagine that is a lot of work. And we try and divide that work up into 3 divisions. Our administration and planning division. So this is where our Parks and Recreation administration, our director, assistant director, all of our facility supervisors are in this division. Additionally, our park planner is in this division. We're going to dive more deeper into each of them. We also have our recreation division, which includes Osborne Aquatic Center, Majestic Theater, so on and so forth. Again, we'll talk more about them. And then, of course, our Parks and Natural Resources division that Jude will talk more about more in detail later. So earlier I said one of our over-unders was 3 employees. Well, Meredith just shared with you that we have over 250 employees in Parks and Recreation, most of them part-time employees. But this slide here shows kind of the complexity of our department and how our department is divided into our 3 divisions that I just spoke about, and then we're going to speak more about the branches within each of those divisions.
Okay, we're going to get into this fun stuff here. We have some recently completed capital improvement projects to highlight. Our skate park, which is over on the riverfront area under the highway bypass there. We just expanded that. This was a multi-year project, over 10 years in the making. Again, talking about partnerships with the Benton County Skateboarding Alliance was a big leader in this project. And we were able to expand the skate park and add, you can see the photo here. That's me on the skateboard. But it was really important project because our existing skate park was really catered and designed for beginner level, intermediate level, as you grow your skills as a skater or on roller skates or on a scooter or even a bike. And what we were seeing was overcrowding, particularly in the peak times of the day. And as youth and adults were advancing their skills, they were kind of overcrowding the space. And unfortunately, younger kids or inexperienced skaters, were a little uncomfortable. It was hard to share that space. So there was a lot of advocacy in the community that came forth for the need for this advanced level feature at the skate park to expand that service and allow the different skill development opportunities for everybody. So this is a 13-foot deep advanced level skate bowl, open to rave reviews, and again, through many partnerships and a lot of hard work and effort. Next slide is going to talk more about the budget when we talk about how do we pay for it. We're excited about our first solar-powered scoreboard. We're putting the finishing touches on right now over at Porter Park softball field. And so we're excited to see how we can start working towards more of those climate action and energy efficiency goals into some of these larger and smaller projects. And we're really proud to this December just open our first all-inclusive playground, which is at Avery Park. And if you haven't been by there, I really encourage you to stop over there. Even if you don't have children with you, we see plenty of adults playing on this playground right now. It is designed in such a way to integrate children and adults with disabilities, physical as well as developmental disabilities, so that they can play with everybody and together. You know, the old standards of making sure that there's elements for a child in a wheelchair often were like set in a separate area, or they were, kind of relegated to ground level elements. And so this new idea of integrated play allows kids to play together regardless of their ability. And so this is our first playground with ramps up into the play structure. There are a couple particular play elements where somebody can roll on with a wheelchair, again, child or adult. Think about caregivers that are coming with children as well, being able to play with the children. And in terms of sensory sensitivities, we have a cozy dome, a quiet area, musical instruments, and it's just a really wonderful place. So how do we pay for that? This is just an example from these more recent capital improvement projects about how we have to be creative and put these different funding sources together to be able to deliver such a wonderful project. A lot of our projects are dependent on what we call SDCs, or system development charges. And these charges are paid by developers really to pay their fair share of infrastructure expansion as it relates to population growth or growth related to that particular type of development. And so we're able to collect those fees and keep them in a fund. And then there's certain restrictions on how we can use them on different types of projects, but certain projects are eligible to be funded by those park SDCs. But we have to find other money as well. And so you can see, for instance, in our skate park project, we were awarded a grant for $182,700. And then many of our grants that we receive are 50% match grants. And so we do have to come up with that other portion of the fund. So a combination of general funds, sometimes those system development charges, a lot of times donations are helping to fund those projects as well as in-kind contributions that are provided to the project. Yes.
What's the insurance claim payment?
Oh, I'll get to that.
Okay.
So Avery Park Inclusive Playground Project, another grant was awarded for this project. Then we matched that with American Rescue Plan Act dollars, so ARPA funds that came to the city during the pandemic, our system development charges to the degree in which they're eligible. We also had a state grant for sanitation, which was used to replace the restroom facilities. And the insurance claim payment that was added to this project was related to the picnic shelter that was installed. We had a picnic shelter called the Maple Grove Picnic Shelter down at the lower level of Avery that unfortunately caught on fire. There was some vandalism, and it was deemed that it had to be demolished. And the location of the picnic shelter wasn't allowed to be rebuilt in the floodplain there. And so we received an insurance payment for that loss, and we applied it to constructing the new picnic shelter, which is up next to the playground. So that's how we get creative and try to piece it all together to make sure that we can keep our park system safe for everybody.
Okay, to continue on that theme of what do we have, I shared earlier the 3 divisions that make up Parks and Recreation. We do a wonderful job of collaborating with each other across divisions. Even though we talk about them as divisions, we work together very well to effectively provide services and programs to the community. So our recreation division is, we break our recreation division up into 3 branches. So it's our aquatics and sports branch, which includes Osborne Aquatic Center. It includes all of our adult and youth sports programs. We're going to learn more about each of these branches as we go through. We have also the cultural arts and community outreach branch, which includes the Majestic Theater, the Art Center. It also includes our marketing division and our outreach, all of our tabling events, all of our, a lot of our special events comes out of this branch. And then our last branch is our Recreation and Community Services branch. This is the Corvallis Community Center. We talked about, you had mentioned C3 earlier. It also includes all of our outdoor and education programs, our day camps, our youth volunteer corps program. And and so we'll get into a little bit more details on this. We'll start with Osborne Aquatic Center. So Osborne Aquatic Center has about 230,000 visits that come through those doors on an annual basis. Osborne Aquatic Center, if you don't know, is one of the largest public aquatic facilities in the Pacific Northwest. It comprises a 50-meter Olympic-sized swimming pool in the indoors. It also includes a therapy pool, 91-degree therapy pool for arthritis rehab, cardiac rehab, our water babies and water kids class that's also is in that pool. And then we also have people know as Otter Beach, which is our outdoor water park, which has a 6-lane, 25-meter pool, and then a water park that includes a 3-story water slide, a lazy river, tumble buckets, lots of interactive features for kids of all ages and of course adults too. Osborne Aquatic Center is running about 6 to 8 teams and clubs that call Osborne home. We also have, of course, our lap swim, open recreation, and then we're running our fitness classes at the Aquatic Center as well. We're running over 50 aqua fitness classes each week at the Aquatic Center. The Aquatic Center, yes.
Status of the closure.
Yeah.
We knew this was coming.
We were doing all that stuff.
Yeah, we're so who attended city council this last week? Anybody? Okay, thank you. Would you like to tell us about what you learned there about the Aquatic Center? I'm teasing. So the Aquatic Center, for those of you that do not know, the Aquatic Center during routine maintenance this last September, we identified some corrosion at the roof structure level. Upon further investigation, that corrosion was fairly serious, and the corrosion was inside the roofing structure from the roof materials on the outside. And then from the ceiling on the inside, that middle space that is inaccessible. It's not, if you can imagine like an attic, but a compressed attic, right? Very small and sealed. That is where the corrosion was identified to be the most serious. We have closed the natatorium, the indoor facility, for those investigatory work to identify how bad is the problem, how much corrosion is there, and then what is it going to take to repair the situation. We are still gathering information on the how to repair. We know what happened. We know how it happened. We shared that with City Council this past week. And then we're at the stage of now, how do we fix it? And how do we go about, how do we as a community, the pool is owned by the school district and operated by Corvallis Parks and Recreation, or operated by the city. So it is a collaborative process of how do we go about identifying the funding to repair it.
Yet know how long it'll take to be operational again?
Say it one more time, sir.
Probably don't know how long it's still going to be out of operation.
So we know that it's currently closed, the indoor facilities. We are working hard to provide some programming, limited programming in the outdoor pools. And as far as how long the indoor pool will be closed and how long the repairs, that's still yet to be determined. So we're at the stage now, we're trying to gather, if you can imagine, just to identify the extent of the work that's needed, and then bids and the competitive procurement process, contracting, all of that is going to take time. Thank you for that question, Ken.
So to get to to use the outdoor pool, that's the most likely next step, is that it'll be heated and it'll be a little bit like in the pandemic, something like.
Yes, sir.
So we'll use the locker room.
So we're still working on the details of the operational plan. There is some limited indoor space that the engineer and the building official, city building official will likely allow. We haven't gotten that plan completely fleshed out yet, but the natatorium itself is off limits. The exterior of the building, or not exterior, but the portion of the inside of the building, the lobby, the classrooms, possibly part of the locker rooms, looks like it will be available to be able to use. The outdoor pools, as many of you know, the outdoor lap pool is used year round. During the winter time, it is used for swim teams and swim clubs. And so, and as Ken pointed out, during the pandemic, we ran operations outdoors. So we are used to being able to do this and again, in a limited basis.
And
I'm sorry.
so is the timeline, is there any projection when that might happen?
Yeah, as far as a projection on timeline for opening the outdoor pools, we're hoping probably within a month or so that we'll be able to have some limited programming again in the lap swim pool. Obviously, the winter conditions aren't the best for things like babies, getting in the pool and doing swim lessons. So we're gonna take a phased approach. Probably get some of the swim teams in first, return our staff back to work, because we had to furlough almost 150 staff. And so we're talking to all of them, seeing, did you find jobs elsewhere? Are you willing to come back? Making sure certifications are still up to date, making sure that everybody's skills are still sharp. And so those are the steps that we're taking, but we hope, maybe in a month or so that we'll be able to have some outdoor operations out there. And then again, we'll phase in things that aren't as conducive to the current weather. So swim lessons will probably be, a further stage out.
Great question.
Well, you answered one of the questions, because I wondered what happened to the staff. So furloughed.
Yes.
So the aquatic center has been there for how many years?
So since 1979.
1979. And the damage that was occurring was something that you couldn't actually see, but what going forward, how do you prevent that from happening again? Because I imagine it's going to be very expensive to fix.
The report that we provide City Council is the attachment to that report is from the engineer, who recommended 3 different options for repairing the damage and how to move forward.
And making sure it doesn't happen again. So, we're not the technical experts on the engineering side or building maintenance side, but you can imagine the changes in temperature and moisture that occur between the outdoors and the indoors, and particularly in an indoor environment with water and the humidity. So that is what's causing it, and the design itself of those structural beams. And so it's really about sealing up any transfer of air and making sure that there's not condensation that causes corrosion from the inside of a hollow steel beam. So that's the best I can do at explaining it, but feel free to check out the report. And the options for repair would be to, spray foam inside of those beams to make sure that they're, we're locking up any sort of air leakage or water leakage, and a variety of other things. So pretty extensive. But that would be the goal, is to, again, kind of weigh the options, the cost, the duration of closure, how long is this going to last us, and really look at that from a comprehensive standpoint.
Thank you for your questions. I get credit for all that time, right? And I can add to my presentation. I'll keep it brief, I promise. The last thing I wanted to offer on the Aquatic Center real quick was the Aquatic Center hosts several statewide, region-wide competitions and tournaments, from large water polo competitions, state championship water polo, 11-14 state championship for youth, right? So there's these very large events. That brings in about $1.5 million in outside dollars that are being spent here locally at hotels, fuel stations, restaurants, so on and so forth. So we do know how important the Aquatic Center is to the community. The other part of this branch is our sports, and our sports is providing adult and youth sports. Many of the areas are offered year-round, after school and in the evenings. And we collaborate with both the Parks Division to have those sports in our parks, from lacrosse to it's our softball program. We have 112 adult softball teams. Additionally, we're in the schools. So I know it's amazing. We're in the schools as well, utilizing the schools for our basketball programs. We are also doing, we also run our martial arts classes, fencing classes. And so you can imagine, for basketball, it's both adult and youth basketball. And we run that with about 20 part-time and casual employees, as well as, of course, our volunteer coaches, which are very important. And all of you are welcome to sign up. All right, the next branch I'd like to speak about is part of that is the Majestic Theater. The Majestic Theater, we are running over 150 performances a year out of Majestic Theater, and that is run by nearly 1,500 volunteers. The volunteers are the backbone of Majestic Theater, and so I hope all of you have had a chance to go to a performance at Majestic Theater, whether that's on main stage or in our stage upstairs. We run educational programs from acting, dancing, music. We do a stage combat, pretty fun class as part of the Majestic Theater. And then, of course, we do comedy events, comedy nights, and then concerts as well. So again, 150 performances a year out of the Majestic Theater, and then of course all of our education programs. The other part that I'd like to share is, of course, the Arts Center. And the Arts Center, it just celebrated their 60th anniversary. And the Arts Center is located next to Central Park, next to Central Park. And it is run by a significant amount of volunteers, a very small staff. And the Arts Center, while owned by Parks and Recreation, it's managed by a nonprofit called Corvallis Arts Center, Inc. And we have a celebrity in the audience from that era. The Arts Center has serves over 20,000 visitors and participants that come through their doors on an annual basis. The second branch I wanted to talk about, the third, is our Recreation and Community Services branch. This includes the Corvallis Community Center. We also fondly call it C3 for short. And the community center offers both youth and adult. However, we do cater towards adults at C3. And we have over 1,000 recreation activities annually at C3. Ranging from environmental education programs to support groups. We have a community garden right outside C3. And then for our older adult services, we provide support, health, wellness, social engagement, fitness classes, and of course, recreational activities. And then C3 hosts several community events. So we have our large scale events like GameCon, which is coming up just this next weekend. We have Planet Palooza. And then we also host concerts in the park there at Shintimony Park. And then this year, We're all, hosting again the Oregon Senior Games. Yeah. All right, and next up is our Parks Division.
Thank you, James. Okay, for our Parks Division, we maintain all the developed parks and natural areas along with landscape areas throughout the city. We manage the park facilities, our street trees across, all the street trees in between the sidewalks and the streets are all maintained by the Parks Division. And we contain two branches, our Parks and Facilities Maintenance that does the more developed park areas, and then Natural Resource and Stewardship, who maintain the natural areas and trees. We do this with a total of 24 full-time staff and about 16 casual staff throughout the year. Okay, our largest branch is the Parks and Facility Maintenance because of all the different types of facilities. I always like to say that maintaining a park system has almost all the aspects of an entire city. We have everything that you do citywide, we're doing in the parks. So our maintenance, facility maintenance includes routine inspections and repairs of park facilities, drinking fountains, restrooms, shelters, playgrounds. We have community rooms. We have historic buildings. We mentioned the playgrounds. We have 28 playgrounds that we maintain. We have certified playground safety inspectors that go out there, and our goal is to inspect those playgrounds quarterly, make sure that they meet all standards to keep our kiddos safe as they're going out there and playing and exploring their boundaries. 3 historic buildings. We have the Gaylord House, the oldest home here in Corvallis, Owens Farmstead, and the Sunnyside Schoolhouse, which was preserved and moved onto the Owens property. Some of the smaller aspects, but numerous that we have to maintain is picnic tables. And this is repairing when they break, repainting them. We have rain a lot in our climate. So it does take a lot to keep those up and ready for people. We have over 180 picnic tables in the system, 340 benches in the system. Again, many of those are wood, some recycled plastic or metal. We're trying to go to more longer term sustainable options that don't take as much maintenance to maintain them, but there's still a lot of work that goes in there. We're also stewards of public art. We have all of that artwork along Riverfront Park. The artwork that's in the Central Park, the ballerina, the disguise, or a little squirrel friend that's hiding on the rock there. The waves sculptures that go down 2nd Street, that falls in Parks and Recreation. So if something happens to those, if they get vandalized or graffitied or damaged, we need to go out and repair or find a contractor that can come out or oftentimes going and finding the original artist to do those repairs. I mentioned graffiti and vandalism, a lot more than what I would like to see. We spend a lot of time removing graffiti, painting over it where we can't remove it, repairing vandalism at the various facilities. Just the other night, we had a vehicle go through the Art Center Plaza, took out a bench, just missed our peace pole. We're so happy that it could have been a lot worse, but then the crew has to go out there and order new benches, repair them, and just keep the system up and safe for all of our users. Another aspect of this branch is turf management. We have a lot of irrigated and unirrigated turf. Our parks that have that green lawn all during the summer when we don't have the rains and in the dry season, we have irrigation systems. Many of them are 50 years old. So as they age, they're requiring more repair. It takes a little bit longer. We have to be creative, go online, find parts from places that aren't standard just to try and keep these things running. But we also have our mow crew. It consists of 2 seasonals. In the spring, it takes 2 people mowing their full-time job. So each of them 40 hours a week, about 2 weeks to get through the entire park system. By the summer, when the grass slows down and it firms up, when we use some of our bigger mowers, we can get through the whole system in about a week. So just a lot of just repetitive going out there, making sure that the areas are ready for our users. Landscaping. A lot of our parks have landscaping. We have a wonderful rose garden at Avery Park. We also have a rhododendron garden, not as well known, not as large, but also you go through there in the spring, it's beautiful. And then we have the roses and all the landscaping at Central Park and the landscaping up and down Riverfront. All told throughout our park system, along with street islands and other beautification areas, we have approximately 7 acres of landscaping that gets maintained. So, yes, question.
Where is the rhododendron garden?
The rhododendron garden, good. It's, if you go up to what we call topside, so where the shelters are, Thompson Shelter. There,
Park.
yeah, at Avery, I'm sorry, yes, in Avery Park, you have, if you drive into the park, you have Lion Shelter, then the smaller Fireside Shelter, and then Thompson Shelter. And it's right across the park road from Thompson Shelter. We don't have a sign for it now, but we were looking at doing that, and it's just, it has a nice little gravel pathway that goes through there and some beautiful rhododendrons. Let's see. Sports fields and sports courts. So this branch also maintains all of our sports fields and sports courts throughout the park system. We maintain them, prepare them for local leagues, our community events, rentals, and drop-in use. We have 30 sports fields throughout the system and 46 sports courts. This includes Crystal Lake Sports Park, and most people are aware of the Little League fields, and we have 10 soccer fields. Well, they're multi-use, lacrosse, ultimate, all sorts of sports go out there. But most people don't realize we also have 2 bocce ball courts out there. Other courts in the system, we have 14 pickleball courts, 4 tennis courts, and a roller hockey or roller bike polo, just any roller sports type of court with some backer boards, and that's becoming more and more popular. We're also maintaining the skate park with the expansion that we mentioned, and then our boat ramp. So we do have a boat ramp for access into the Willamette River down there at Crystal Lake Sports Park. Specialty crews, all of this maintenance, we have sanitation and daily park maintenance that goes on. So our sanitation crews, we have 14 restrooms throughout the system, the 14 buildings, restroom buildings, that we remain open 365 days a year. So we have those cleaned every day, 7 days a week, almost every holiday. There are some holidays we're unable to get people come in and they just sort of hang out. But that's a day in, day out maintenance that they get to do just to keep them sanitized and clean, so that when you go to the park, hopefully they're in a decent shape. And if not, give us a call and we'll rush out there and get them cleaned up. Other things, we have 41 dog duty stations. These are the stations that provide the dog waste bags so people can pick up after their furry friends, keeping dog waste out of off our sidewalks, out of our streams. It's a real credit. I get calls about people asking why nobody picks up after their dogs, but our community really, if you look if our staff, those bags that we pick up are heavy. So for the most part, people are doing their job, and it's really a testament to everybody that's going out there and enjoying the park system. The last part of that branch I want to talk about is our illegal camp cleanup crew. It's a small crew of casual employees that get direction from our lead worker. And we go out there, we work with police department, ODOT. We also coordinate and partner with service agencies and the county, because we have to go out there and clean up camps that were posted. We want to do it respectfully as we can. And if we find personal belongings, we store them for 30 days. And the idea is we want to provide parks that are safe and clean for everybody to use. We do have sleeping areas that have been designated where people can go sleep over even after hours. And then this crew just goes in there. And if there's a camp where it's not supposed to be and it gets posted, and they clean it up and have to work around safety issues such as needles or other things that might be in that camp. Not all of them, but we just got to be careful about it. And that's an example of where we have casuals out there, part-time staff, we train them up, but they're doing a job that is crucial to the enjoyment of the parks. And we are really lucky to have them with us. Yeah.
So as far as maintenance goes, it's a touchy subject. As far as controlling weeds, there's lots of ways to do it. You probably know where I'm going with
Yep.
it. Why, yeah, avoiding Roundup and stuff like that.
So that's a great question. Yes, weeds, weed management, what do we do? So we do follow integrated pest management practices. All of our staff, we would love to go 100% pesticide free if we could, if we had the hours and the availability to do that. Unfortunately, with the acreage that we have and the number of staff that we have, we just can't do that. But we do really do a very minimum amount of pesticide application and spraying. There's a misconception that we spray all turf areas. We really don't spray turf areas. Every couple of years, we may put something down in the Crystal Lake sports fields to take care of clover and some other broadleaf weeds that might create issues with that high intensive turf. But if you go out to your neighborhood parks and you go out into the grass areas and look down, you're going to see grass, turf, but you're also going to see dandelions, clover, all sorts of your broadleaf weeds, because we don't really spray those. Where we do apply are in some of our landscape areas around mowing obstacles. We apply the minimum amount that we need to get the effect of combating the weeds. And where we can, we use mulch. We do use volunteer groups that come in if a group really wants to make it pesticide free, they might adopt the park, and we have groups that do that. So they'll come out several times a year to weed in an area. The other place we use herbicides would be in our natural areas for managing invasive weeds and stuff. And we're always looking for alternatives and going to trainings and stuff.
I was wondering about all the irrigation, and you're mentioning that it's an aging system for the turf areas. And especially now that, the summers are getting hotter and drier, is there any talk of maybe not maintaining so many of those irrigation systems and having a little different approach that not every park needs to be irrigated green?
Yeah, we haven't really looked at cutting off irrigation completely in parks. We do have some parks that are dry land, what we call dry land. They don't have irrigation and they will completely brown out over the course of the summer. We do go through and dial back the water to try and just keep it green so it doesn't go complete brown in our climate, so that kids can have a place to run and play. But we are constantly looking at ways to cut back on that irrigation to save the water. Look for places like if you have a break and how to repair it.
Yeah, following up on that point, I was disappointed was there something?
You're okay.
Sorry. I was disappointed to see in the renovation of the fire station on Circle, when the garden was installed, it had irrigation. So this was not at all the sort of garden that you would think you would plan if you were thinking about climate change. So that's probably not your division, but I wonder if it said to me that maybe, the impacts of climate change aren't really considered across all of the city of Corvallis staff. So I wonder what you would have done in that circumstance.
I'm not familiar with exactly what's in there, and if I'd have to look at to see if the irrigation was meant as a temporary, like you run it for the first couple of years to get plants established. I'm not familiar with it, but we do, when we develop a park, we look at all those things. And when we're looking at putting in a landscape area, is it a focal point? Sometimes we do use irrigation because you have a focal point where you want to have a pop of color or flowers or something. Or you need the irrigation for you have some green grass that kids can run and play on. But we do look at ways you can reduce the amount of water that you're putting down.
Well, a question about herbicides. If you wanted to pick the berries in the park, how would you find out what's been sprayed and when?
You're thinking about like blackberries and stuff. Yep. So easy thing, as far as herbicides, you're good. We won't spray blackberry areas prior to them, blooming and going and producing berries. What we'll do is we'll cut them down, let them grow up till the point, spray them. So we make very sure that patch, if we're going after blackberries, especially invasive or something, that it's not going to be fruiting after we spray it. I would worry about anything that's lower than here because of dogs and stuff that go through the park. So just pick your berries up a little bit higher, or wash them. But yeah,
Is there somebody?
there's one, yeah.
Go ahead.
Where do the community gardens fit?
Community garden.
I really appreciate living in an apartment, having that opportunity to be able to plant vegetables.
So that we have the 3 community gardens in our system. One of them at the Denali Creek Sage Garden that is run by our partners, the Corvallis Environmental Center. And then we have the Willamette Park Community Garden that is run in-house, and also the raised beds at C3. All of those, we do not apply herbicides in the garden areas. That, I don't know if you're looking at.
I just wanted to, do they come under, which department do they come under? Your section or?
It's,
It's
all
shared.
3 are owned by Parks and Recreation.
But I think, yeah, in the recreation manages it, like we have a garden coordinator. And this is the part where James said is we work together across these branches or these divisions. We really don't like the term divisions because we work as a team. Our staff on the maintenance side, we go in there and we provide support. When there's issues, like if you need mulch or bark, or if there's something wrong with the exterior fencing or anything, our system, or the irrigation, the water source, our teams will come in and help. And then recreation side manages the rental of those plots and coordinate with the gardeners.
Put in the new door that we have.
Yes, well, we contracted with that. Yes, exactly. Okay, so I'm gonna jump, oh, we got one more, or keep going.
Talking about trees, you mentioned the trees and then the parking strips, and with the climate change, I understand, I'm a tree steward, been there for 7 years, and we're putting in. Are you gonna be able to replace all the trees that are gonna be dying in the next 10 or 20 years? And if so, are you gonna be replacing them with trees that are, amenable to hot, dry conditions, and how can we help?
Well, first of all, thank you for being a tree steward. And my apologies on having that program this past year not be as robust because we've been short-staffed. We're working on filling that staff up and getting it back up to par. I'm going to try and hit most of those questions coming up. And I was just going to segue into is a perfect segue. So thank you. The other branch is our natural resource and stewardship branch. This branch, the first aspect I want to talk about is our urban forestry section in there. So we have an urban forestry management plan. We manage 16,000 street trees, and then the trees within the parks, and then that also all of our natural area trees, but really going to focus on the street trees here. We have a tree crew that prunes for structural pruning, clearance pruning, hazard tree removal, and of course, replanting. And we use a lot of volunteer hours in doing a replanting program and watering those trees. Our goal is to plant approximately 200 trees a year. Our goals are to plant more trees than we have to remove. And generally we can keep up with that goal. So the general answer is yes. The caveat I'll put in there is a little bug called the emerald ash borer, which has arrived in Oregon, has not arrived in Corvallis yet. Once it arrives here, and we will lose about 100% of our ash trees over the next 7 to 10 years. Because of that sudden drop, and there are a lot of ash trees in our urban forest, we're starting right now. We are starting to prevent it or proactively remove either sickly ash trees or ones that aren't in the best spot or might have some damage to them, so we can get them replanted and we don't lose them all in one fell swoop. So that doesn't fully answer that question, but yeah, we normally can replant them all. We might have a little dip here when we do get into the heart of that crisis when it comes, but we're working on a management plan and getting out ahead of it to try to minimize that issue.
Quick question.
What does environmental compliance cover?
Environmental, a lot of our natural areas we've acquired with deed restrictions on them. It could be, we have wetland mitigation sites, we have threatened and endangered species on many of our on many of our natural areas. So we just making sure that we're in compliance with all of those various restrictions on the properties.
On that same issue, what is a tree for a fee?
Perfect. So tree for a fee, continuing on with the urban forestry section. The Tree for a Fee program is an alternative program that we started, it's going on about 10 years ago now. We have always required developers to plant street trees in front of their developments. Prior to getting occupancy, they have to get the trees planted in the ground. Oftentimes that might mean a tree gets planted in the middle of the summer, maybe not the best time. Or that's not what their primary aspect of doing. They build buildings, they develop, they don't plant and care for the trees. So a tree for a fee is an alternative rather than having the developer plant the trees they're required to. They can pay the city and they pay a fee for us to be able to buy the tree, plant it, and care for it with the extra watering for the first 3 years to get it in the ground. When they do that, they can get their occupancy immediately. I'm way oversimplifying it, but then they pay us and we hold on to that money so that then they're under the old plan, they might plant that tree in July, August. We'll wait until the winter when it's most likely to be successful to plant. So that's what the tree for fee is.
Current fee for a tree now?
I should have come with that. I'd have to look that up to
It's
get
about
the exact number,
400.
but
About 400.
yeah, right around, give or take. It's a really good deal if you think about as far a developer that's wants to get their development on the ground and going. And also if they plant the tree, it dies within that first 3 years, they have to replant. If they do tree for fee, we are responsible for it. So we will care for it and we'll do our best to make sure that we don't have to replant. So,
Does urban forestry have any rules about what trees they allow people to plant? I mean, there's certain trees like Doug firs, western hemlocks, cedars that really don't belong in an urban.
yes, we have,
plan.
we have approved tree list where you can go online to the city's website and look up what trees are allowed to be planted within the right of way. And there's also some trees that aren't supposed to be planted on private property, such as mainly cottonwoods and willows, especially near drainage way or sewer systems, because they can get in and cause damage to those. So there are recommendations that are online, and then you can always contact Parks and Recreation, send emails to urbanforestry@corvallisoregon.gov, and that goes to our urban forestry team, and they will review those and they can get answers to you and stuff on that. Natural areas, we maintain, as part of this section, we maintain the 15 natural areas over 100 acres. We have 10 miles of gravel and dirt trails that we maintain, and that's both the surface of the trail, but also the vegetation that grows in. We're doing IPM practices to combat invasive species throughout those natural areas. And we have a lot of restoration projects. Just 3 I want to mention real quickly are as recently we did in the last 10 years, we did a 100-acre plus oak release at Chip Ross Timber Hill and partnered with OSU as a part of their property. More recently, the Corvallis Sustainability Coalition has been working with us to reestablish riparian plantings along the Naui Creek headwaters in Bald Hill Park. And they funded a new culvert crossing for the bike path to allow water and amphibians to cross without having to go up and over the bike path. And at Herbert Farm Natural Area, over the last 10 years, we've been partnering with many partners to restore over 150 acres of former farmland to riparian forest, upland and wetland prairies. And it's a wonderful natural area to go out and see. We have natural area management plans that we try to follow and guide us as we're doing at all the different natural areas. Other thing is Parks Volunteer Program. On our stewardship aspect of this branch is we have a robust volunteer program. We had 226 service projects this year with over 7,000 volunteer hours in the park system. That is approximately 4 FTEs equivalent of 4 full-time staff out there that the community is putting back into the park system, and it's very much appreciated and needed. And then we have our Youth Parks Court, which is a youth group where we hire Corvallis youth. Oftentimes it's their first job, the opportunity to get a paycheck and do fun and exciting projects within the park system. The last one I want to talk about is our Park Ranger program. This is something where we got funded for in this fiscal year. We're still rolling it out. We're still working on the job description. And the goal is to have a parks employee who will be our first park ranger, and they'll be going out in the system, educating and outreach to park users to get voluntary compliance of park rules, of anything, just so that we can all use these spaces together. And that position should be out there in the next couple months. Yep.
So I walk around Bald Hill a lot, and the 2 signs that you have out there in that Denali Creek restoration, if anybody's interested in where a lot of the creeks in town go, Denali Creek and the new Lamprey Creek and how they connect with that, that's a fantastic diorama that you have with those 2 signs showing exactly where all these waterways go, which I never imagined. I've been here for 35 years and I had no idea where all these creeks came and went, intersected, and those streets and everything. Fantastic signs. It's a great project.
And that is a wonderful example of our partnerships. Our partners with the Corvallis Sustainability Coalition helped design and plan the project, but also those signs. And we worked together to sort of design them and lay them out. And we're really fortunate to have experts in the room.
Question online. An anonymous attendee asks, I'm wondering how parks and maintenance needs are determined. I've noticed that Chip Ross doesn't have a dog waste system. The parking lot is notoriously rutty despite efforts to grade and re-rock. The trails are mucky mud all winter, thus getting wider and reducing access to anyone not wearing muck boots.
So all good questions and good challenges that we face in our climate if we don't have like a fully paved or gravelled trail. So I'll tackle a couple of those really quick. The parking lot area is something it's as a gravel parking lot on the edge of the hillside. It's always had its challenges. It's steep so that you put gravel on, and as vehicles go up, they spin out and they create ruts, and then we go in there and have to refix them. The long-term fix would be obviously a paved parking lot, which would be more of a capital improvement type project or something that would come with a larger project. In the meantime, we've done several projects to put in new drainage throughout that parking lot. In 2016, we had a very long, prolonged winter where we had measurable rain almost every day from September through, I think it was late June. It was a rough winter. And that parking lot portions of it actually turned to like a soup or pudding consistency where you could push a stick about 6 feet into the ground right in the middle of the gravel parking lot. So that was the start of some really increased problems there, but we've just continually been working with contractors. We recently had one come out again last spring, do some more assessments, put some more drainage in, trying to pack in rock, but it's just a continually thing where we have to go back in and refix it until we are able to get funding to do a actual paved parking lot there. The trails is part of that oak release project. Most restoration projects cost they all cost lots of money. They generally don't generate revenue. An oak release, you're trying to protect oaks and they're being topped out by Doug fir and maple. The maple's a cost, but the Doug fir, when you remove it, you can actually sell it and it can help fund the projects. We received an OWEB grant, and then also timber sales from the fir that was removed funded the restoration project. It also funded repairing about a third of the main trail system, the lower part of it, which is holding up really well. But with that said, We have the remaining 2/3 that we have to find additional funding. So we go through in-house, we've done some inboarding ditches to keep water off of it. It's far better than it's been in the last 10 years ago, but yes, it does get muddy when the rains come. And what we ultimately need is some base rock and gravel. That first 1/3 that we did cost us about $23,000 to get that work done. We probably could have spread it out over more of the trail system, but then it wouldn't have lasted. So we're trying to do the sections and then they can last, hopefully.
And then speaking of funding, Meredith's gonna transition us into how do we pay for it?
All this talk about trees and we still have yet to find our money tree. So, but moving into budget, and I know we're getting close to time here. We're happy to stay behind too and answer your questions, as well as my cards are up here too. And our contact information will be on the last slide. So go ahead and take a photo of our email addresses and give us a call anytime. But real high level here in terms of our operational budget. Overall, the department's budget this year is just under $14 million. It's about 12 million for our daily operations, and then the other 1.7, 1.8 million is for special projects or our reserve fundings that we budget for just in case opportunities arise, or we have the ability to kind of jump on something that either maybe we don't know yet, but we want to budget for and have those that allocation available to us should we have that opportunity. So you can see real quick here, just our budget by division of that $13.9 million. About 5.2 of it is towards our recreation division. That includes those facilities, the Osborne Aquatic Center, Majestic Theater, Community Center, and the programs housed within those, as well as the programs housed either out in the parks or at the schools or other facilities that we partner with. The Parks Division is about 4.2 million of the budget. Again, Jude went through and a lot of really great questions about maintenance. Over $3 million goes towards park maintenance of those 48 parks. Urban forestry makes up about 875,000 of that. Urban forestry does receive some revenue through your city services bill, so there is a monthly fee that is directly funding a portion, probably about a quarter or a third of the urban forestry program to help maintain those street trees. Our administration and planning is $3.5 million. This is a big number, mainly because this is where we capture costs that we actually pay for services from other city departments. So human resources services, our financial services through the finance department, technology services through IT. Our budget actually reflects costs associated with us being a client of those internal service departments. So as you can imagine, all of our employees have, not all of them, but many of them have computers, devices, email addresses, the technology programs that support the department. We're working with finance, so all of our bills are paid by the finance department. So all of those invoices, contracts, procurement processes are managed through those internal service departments. And of course, all of the employee benefits and payroll through for our employees as well by HR. And then we have our planning and facilities and equipment budget was 994,000 of that. That's our vehicle and equipment replacement, as well as some other special projects and non-recurring or one-time projects that are captured in that number. Question. Sure.
Could you go back a second? Yeah, the recreation division, you said there's 4 centers, but I don't see the art center listed. Is that funded differently?
It is funded differently. So the Art Center is a building that the city owns, but it is operated by that nonprofit, the Art Center nonprofit. And so from a programming standpoint, the funding doesn't come from the Parks and Recreation Department.
As far as maintenance of the building?
There's minimal maintenance on the building, but provided by our city's Public Works Department.
Yes, I think there's an online question.
Sure.
Yeah, Lynn wants to mention, it's not really a question. Lynn wants to note that the Sustainability Coalition paid for the new culvert you mentioned at Chip Ross Park. And the interpretive panels at Bald Hill, not a penny of taxpayer money was spent for those.
Yep, great partners. Okay. Next slide here is showing then on the other side of the equation, our sources of funds or our revenue. So about half of the department, almost, between $6 and $7 million. That's what we call our, some call it a subsidy, some call it an investment, but the general tax allocation from the city's general fund. So property tax allocation towards the Parks and Recreation Department. And as I talked about, we're about 50% cost recovery. So we recoup the other half of the funds needed to operate by the local option levy, which is about $3 million of revenue to Parks and Recreation annually. Charges for services is that purple piece. That's over $2 million in fees paid to us by somebody who wants to participate in a program. So you see our activity guide come out twice a year. So pay for services, if you want to pay to participate in swim lessons or any number of classes and programs, as well as rentals and reservations of picnic shelters, facilities, community rooms and things like that. So we recoup some of that through that. We have reserves are captured in here, which is not necessarily revenue coming in, but it is budgeted for. So funds that have accumulated over time from different ways and manners, that is available to us for special projects. And then other small amounts through grants, donations. We do have some concessions at both Majestic and Osborne Aquatic Center. And then we also have a partner nonprofit organization called the Friends of Corvallis Parks and Recreation. And they help support us by allowing people to give charitable donations and then passing them through to us when we have a need that arises to either complete a program or project or help fund. They do anything from providing enough funds so we can give out free ice cream at the swimming pool on 4th of July, all the way to providing, tens or $20,000 towards a park improvement project or even more. So that information is there for you if you're interested. friendsofcorvallisparks.org. Really great program that partners with us.
Meredith spoke about cost recovery. It is one of our guiding philosophies that helps us set our prices for our programs and services. So specifically, for those of you that don't know what cost recovery is, it's defined as the degree to which the cost of facilities, services, and programs is supported by user fees. Or other funding sources like grants, partnerships versus subsidy. And so in contrast, that subsidy is the general fund non-permanent tax rates, or excuse me, non-dedicated general fund. So that permanent tax rate, that's also helps financially support our operations. So essentially that subsidy is the investment in Parks and Recreation. And if you see here, there's 11 categories of service that we place all of our programs and services into, and wherever that category of service is, that helps guide us on what do we set those prices at. What do we allow that permanent tax rate to help subsidize or invest in versus what do we ask the public to pay for more of those programs and services? So you can imagine access to our parks, for instance. There is no ticket taker at the gate of a park, right? So we're going to have more of those property tax dollars, more subsidy go towards on this continuum that you see here on the slides, towards the bottom of that, where it's kind of the common good, where the majority of the public is benefiting from. Versus as we move through time, you have life and safety classes, you have beginner sports classes, all the way up through concessions, for instance. And that's where we'll have more of the user fees, the participant fees, pay for the cost of those services. And so again, Meredith talked about our target is 50% cost recovery from user fees, participation fees, rental fees, so on and so forth, to help pay for all of Parks and Recreation.
And that brings us to the end. I think that those were really great questions. I'm sure there's more. Again, make sure that you note email addresses, phone numbers. We do have also the opportunity for you to report anything and communicate to us through the website. I do want to mention that we do rely on everybody, every one of you out in the parks and out at our facilities to tell us, what your experience is like. And if you see something that you think we should know about, we want to know about it. And so those are some ways that you can communicate with us. There's a question.
Well, I just wanted to say, first of all, that there are two entities that on the city surveys always get high rankings from the community, and that's Parks and Recreation, and the library. So
Yes.
thank you for all the work you do to enhance our community. But my question is, having lived in Corvallis a long, long time, is how are we planning for the future with population growth, the costs of maintenance, the costs of land? How are we planning for the future to make sure that we have open spaces and opportunities for the community?
Yeah, I mean, particularly as it relates to population growth, that's where I talked about those system development charges. The challenge with the system development charges, they are, they are only for growth opportunities and expanded capacity, and they are also only for capital investment. And so the challenge then there is, we put a new restroom in, that means our sanitation crews have another restroom to clean. There's more toilet paper, there's more paper towels, there's more soap, all of those things that come with it. So that is a challenge that is an ongoing challenge that we'll always be facing. I think for us, it's really revisiting our cost recovery models and really kind of trying to calibrate what are the revenue sources that are available for us to be able to maintain the growth in the system and being smart about it. I think to revisiting the master plan, maybe not going 15 years between master plans, but trying to really look at what's realistic in a 5 to 7 to 8 year period. Because I think, what we've noticed in the department and in the master plan is, we could ask you what you want. And, there's a lot of things people want without really going through that exercise of what's realistic and what's feasible. And I think for us, that's something that we're really trying to integrate and making sure that we're not taking on more that's not sustainable. So it's a balancing act, but ultimately, as far as the math goes, you either decrease services or you increase revenue. And so being creative about grants and partnerships and how to get things done, differently is where we're focusing.
So Meredith, as I recall, the city strategic plan included some improvements over at Avery Park, I think, to get maybe some of the maintenance buildings or something out of the floodplain and up on the higher.
Mhm. Yes.
Is that part of the city's capital plan? And if so, when's that scheduled for?
Yeah, so we, the city council has authorized us, the city, to proceed with planning and construction of a new maintenance facility. If you're not familiar with Avery Park, the maintenance facility that Jude's crews work out of is a compound that's made up of multiple buildings that were not actually intended to be park maintenance facility buildings. They're barns and sheds and things like that. So, and they're in the floodplain, which causes some issues. So we're in the planning phases right now. There's an architect that is on hire and working with the staff in developing those concept plans. There's a location that's been identified at a different location in Avery Park outside of the floodway. And so they're really working through land use right now, permitting, design processes. So it is in motion, and I think they expect this phase of the project to take about a year and potentially construction in 2026, 27. So it is moving along. Yeah, thank you. Sure.
Can you put this presentation online where we can share with other people? Because I know some people who would have liked to have been here, and I learned a lot tonight, so it'd be great to be able to go through all that again.
Yeah, I,
Posted on the League of Women Voters
Excellent.
YouTube channel at some
Excellent, thank
point.
you.
and if you'd like a PDF copy or something like that, I'm happy to send you one by email too.
Okay, thanks.
We have another question online. Sandy asks, how can I ask the city to not spray for weeds around the fire hydrant near my house? I have blueberry plants there.
I'll intercept that. Why doesn't she go out and do it herself? I mean, honestly, I mean, there's weeds that come up everywhere, and I don't know if that's necessarily the city's role to manage people's land.
And
By fire hydrant.
yeah, I think the question was like, how do we not, like, that she thinks they're being sprayed? I honestly, as parks, I don't know what the city's practices are. I don't think we go around spraying. But I can't tell for sure. You would send a request in and then we can get that to the right department. And they may have, like for us in the park, when we get that request, we do exactly what you just said, is we'll talk to that person and see if we can adopt a park for an area, and then we can get a group of people together to do the hand weeding so that we don't have to go out there and spray an area. So I would say send in a request into the city. You can use report a problem and it will get to the right department.
I have a question about individuals who go around just digging up or pulling up invasive species like Scotch broom. To what extent do you want to know about individual efforts that, I'm not clear whether that's allowed or to what extent you want to know.
We would love to know. Our volunteer program, we do a lot of volunteer groups to pull exactly Scotch broom. We have Scotch broom pullers. We work with groups. If you contact us, we can put the individuals in contact with Steve McGettigan. He's one of our program coordinators who runs a volunteer program. He can get tools out to volunteers. We can get gloves, Scotch broom pullers. Plus, then we can track, and because those numbers I said about 7,000 hours, those are the volunteers we know about. We love to tell our story, tell how the public is helping us to maintain the parks, and it helps us tell the community and grantors. And so we want to know everything that's out there, and also to make sure that they are pulling up the right plant. So we also want to make sure that's happening.
You mean it, not blueberry plants by fire hydrants?
Follow up. So these people I know want to pull up plants near places they walk. So if they want to go with Steve McGettigan, will they just work on projects that have been identified, or,
I'll cover, it would be within the park system. That's where our purview is. But yeah, we often will gear our volunteer areas where we work, where people want to work. We have areas where we want volunteers, where we need them. But if we have a group that's passionate about an area over here, we will work with them to work on those areas.
Last question.
I thought over the last couple of years, especially in the summer, a few parts of the city have looked quite scrappy with long dry grass. One place is coming in from the south past the co-op towards the bridge on the left side, and as you go around and cross the bridge. And another one was outside Bimart on Circle Boulevard between Ninth and that bypass. Who is responsible for those public spaces?
So up by the Bimart area, that's a combination of, there's ODOT property and rail. And then coming up from south, right before the bridges, are you talking about to the left? That's another ODOT that we've partnered in the past. For a long time, Kiwanis did a lot of volunteer work out there. But the individuals who were doing that work, they eventually aged out and they had to pull back. So
that's a challenge. The contrast is when you drive into Albany and come across that wonderful flower bed, complex there where all those streets come together. I mean, it does really make a wonderful impact to visitors, I think, coming to a community. And we don't have that at the moment, unfortunately.
So I'd like to thank Meredith. They can get all the information you need by visiting the website.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'm good. I was surprised by that answer about the art center, like, oh, the building doesn't need any maintenance.
No idea.
Astounded how much they do. Budget.
Okay.
Wish you the
yeah.
best recovery.
Thank you.
Just didn't show up.
It's like this, you know? So this is probably what happened.
I just wondered if it was a problem.
Well, she was going